Hi guys, it's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about my November TBR with you guys. So I've got 4 physical books that I would like to get to and also 2 audiobooks that I want to talk about. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. The first book that I wanted to talk to you about is the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, or in my country, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I don't know why books always have different titles depending on the countries, but whatever. So this is a book that I started in October. I'm only a few chapters in, and it follows this guy called Aidan who is a doctor. He was a guest at a party where Evelyn Hardcastle, this bright, young, rich girl of the household, was murdered, and every day he ends up waking up in the body of a different guest, and he has to try and solve the murder, find out who killed Evelyn. There's somebody that's like out to get him as well. It's very, very shrouded in mystery. Very much reminds me of Groundhog Day as well, which is a really cool element. I don't think I've ever read a murder mystery like this one before. The premise just sounded really, really cool to me. It's been on my TBR for a very, very long time. I've heard really good things about it. I think it won an award or was nominated for an award or something, either last year or the start of this year, I can't remember, but very, very promising start. Really enjoying what I've read so far, so definitely gonna finish that one very soon. The next book on my TBR is another audiobook, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Another book with the word or number 7 in the title. This again has been on my TBR for an absolute age. I listened to the audiobook for Daisy Jones and the Six back in the summer. Really, really enjoyed it, and I think in my previous TBR video for October, maybe September, I said I was gonna get to this book and I just never did. So this book follows Evelyn Hugo, who was a Hollywood icon in the 50s and 60s, and she is ready to reveal her life story and put it out into the world. So she enlists the help of a young reporter called Monique to do this, and it's a story about friendship, about love, about, you know, Hollywood and the movies and the 7 husbands that she had along the way, which I'm really, really intrigued to find out more about. This book just seems so appealing to me because I love reading things about celebrities, even though she's not a real life celebrity. I love reading about that lifestyle, about the rich and famous and the glamorous and that kind of thing. After listening to Daisy Jones and the Six, I really, really got a feel for Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. I really liked her style. I liked the way she developed her characters in that book. So I have very high expectations for this one, and I know that it is very popular. A lot of people have liked it, so that gives me a lot of hope. The next book on my TBR is another book that I said I was going to read in a previous video for a previous month, and I just never got round to it, and that is Dark Matter, a Ghost Story by Michelle Paver. This is dubbed on Goodreads as one of the best ghost stories you'll ever read. I've seen a few people review it and say that they were absolutely terrified by it, that they couldn't sleep, that they had to have the light on for the rest of the night. I picked this book up in a charity shop just on a whim. I knew nothing about it, but the cover really appealed to me, and it's got a lot of photographs in the book as well, which, coming from an artistic background, really appeals to me as well. I studied photography. I love photography. I love books that have illustrations and photographs in it that are going to help move the story along and give you a bit of a feel for the atmosphere. This book follows a guy called Jack who isn't very well off. He's quite poor and he lives in London in 1937, so it's a little bit before World War II. And he stumbles upon the opportunity to join a group of explorers on an expedition to the Arctic. And when they're in the Arctic, and they're doing what they need to be doing, when they're setting up camp, a lot of mysterious and ghostly things start happening. People start dying and Jack gets caught up in trying to solve what's going on. The next book on my TBR is quite a predictable pick for me, and that is Dracula The Undead by Dacre, Stoker and Ian Holt. I read a book written by Dacre Stoker back in January. It was called Dracula, and he co-wrote that with a guy called J.D. Barker, and that was dubbed the official prequel to Dracula. It was all about Bram Stoker's childhood and where the inspiration for Dracula might have come from, and there was a lot of really good gothic horror and really good gory and creepy scenes in that book. This is dubbed as the official sequel to Dracula, and I have a lot of faith in Dacre Stoker because he is a relative of Bram Stoker. He's his great grandson or grandnephew or something. I can't really remember. He stuck to the original vampire myth in Dracula and used a lot of Bram Stoker's notes and diary entries when writing that. So he has a very, very expansive knowledge of the Dracula legend and Bram Stoker himself. This book follows Quincy Harker, who is the son of Jonathan and Mina Harker. They are characters in the original Dracula novel. Quincy stumbles upon a play of Dracula that's being shown in London and is directed by Bram Stoker himself, and in that play he learns a lot of things about his parents that he didn't know, a lot of their dark secrets, how they encountered Dracula and what happened to them thereafter. It's set 25 years after Van Helsing seemingly dusted like the world's most prolific and most dangerous vampire. The band of heroes that is Van Helsing and the other people that aided in Dracula's demise are being hunted down, which leads to the suspicion that maybe he isn't dead after all, that evil is stalking Europe again, and it sounds very, very interesting. I'm very intrigued to see how they make Bram Stoker interact with these characters that he seemingly created. I don't know how that's going to work. In this book, I don't really understand how Bram Stoker can exist in a world with fictional characters, but I guess, anything can happen in books. So, you know what I'm trying to say. So I've got another vampire book for me to sink my teeth into. I wasn't going to say it, but I did. The shame. But yeah, another book with vampires in is Blue Bloods by Melissa de la Cruz. This is a young adult urban fantasy surrounding vampires. It's set in Manhattan. This book is about a girl who is in high school. I think she's about 15, and she discovers that she is a blue blood. They are a community of elite vampires. They're very rich, they're very powerful, they have a lot of influence around New York and the world. They're very well respected within society, they're glamorous, everybody wants to be like them. But the blue bloods are being murdered, and this girl, Shyla, don't really know how to say her name. But anyway, she sets herself the task of finding out who or what is killing these blue bloods. And I'm very, very curious to see what this writer has done with the vampire myth, what her vampires are gonna be like. I am a stickler for the traditional vampire, you know, can't go out in sunlight type, is allergic to silver, doesn't like garlic, can't come into a house without being invited in, that kind of thing. But I always love it when there's a twist on the original vampire, and I'm very, very keen to see what twist is going to be in that book. I love this cover as well. It's very reminiscent of vintage New York, very sophisticated, very excited. And the last book that I am planning to get to this month, but honestly I don't know if I will, and that is The Witch of Willow Hall by Hester Fox. This was a book that I planned to read for the Spookathon, but time ran out and I didn't get to it. It follows a girl called Lydia who is descended from the witches of Salem. She has known this all of her life, but she has been warned to keep her legacy secret. She ends up fleeing her home in Boston, MA, and she ends up making life in the idyllic Willow Hall. And Willow Hall seems to be haunted by a mysterious menace. There are ghostly goings on, strange apparitions, and it starts to awaken something inside of her, which is related to her witchy past, I guess. Everything about this book just screams The Haunting of Hill House to me. It has a very similar vibe about it. I don't really know anybody that's read this. Goodreads has very, very mixed reviews on it, but I am just going to go into it knowing nothing more than what I already know. I'm really into witches at the moment. I've read a couple of books lately related to witches and I really enjoyed them. So I'm hoping that this one is going to be a really good spooky read for me. We shall see. Okay guys, so that was my November TBR. I'm feeling very ambitious this month, especially because I read a total of 9 books in October, which is really good going for me. Let me know in the comments down below what your reading plans for November are. Also let me know in the comments below if you've read any of the books mentioned in this video. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on them. As always, please like this video if you obviously liked it. Click the subscribe button and the bell if you would like to see more from me in the future. And I will see you all in another video very, very soon. Thank you guys.